Only
Yeah.
I see. Do I need to re-announce for the sake of the YouTube?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay.
Wait 1 second. I'll give you the. Okay, thank you.
All right. So to repeat, this is the Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting for Tuesday, April 28th, 2020, being held remotely on the Zoom platform and live streamed via YouTube. We opened our meeting at 7:03 p.m. Present are myself, Philip Allen, board members John Pollock, Hal Wilkes, Paul Marino, and Aubrey English. Alternates Marino and English will both be seated for the purpose of this meeting. Members Hal, Neil Hunt, and John Mazzacott are absent excused. So we will try to keep our procedure to pretty much what we do when we're actually live and in person at Town Hall. So the way we proceed is that we call each application according as it appears on the agenda. The applicant gets to present their application with whomever is supporting their application with them. Once they've completed offering their presentation, our board has the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Once we're done with that portion of it, we will open the floor to public comment. And as long as the room doesn't get terribly crowded, we'll be able to see you raise a hand. But if you don't see that we're recognizing you, please consider using the chat to say that you would like to speak to this particular application. And that will also be able to see that and make sure that you're recognized. If somebody comes into the meeting who is participating only by telephone, we'll periodically take a pause to make sure that during public comment, someone who's listening in only on a phone has an opportunity to be heard. So we will, once public comment is over, the applicant has the last word, and then we close the public hearing. The board discusses it, and we vote. An application has to have 4 out of 5 votes in favor of the application, the motions rather. The motions are always stated in the affirmative. And excuse me. And if the application passes this evening, you have your project. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. So that's where we're at. I will. Staff, have I missed anything? Yes.
No, I didn't hear.
No, you didn't miss
John
anything.
Mazzacott has just come into the meeting.
Yep, he's coming.
He is coming.
Yep, there he is.
Hello, John. Can you hear us?
Give him a second.
Yeah.
You seated, have you seated Aubrey for John?
I seated both Paul and Aubrey because I didn't know John was going to be able to make it. So given that Paul will have to recuse, I would unseat Paul and seat John as soon as he's in.
Let's wait a moment for John Pollock to return.
I'm back.
And John Mazzacott, can you hear us? There he is.
Is he supposed to be on my screen?
Not yet, because his video is not quite connected yet. John, don't forget that the audio is on the bottom of the screen where you want to hit unmute yourself. Can you hear us, John? Not yet. Hey, John, can you hear us? No. Phil, if you want to go with that out.
Okay. Paul, you're still seated.
Okay.
All right, so we will now open the public hearing for ZBA application 20-5239 for a variance for 135 Shore Drive. Applicant owner is Sally Caratanuti for the proposed construction of a garage covered front porch, 5.5 foot by 5.5 mudroom addition. It enclose and expand existing landing and rear, and a 37 foot by 4.5 foot deck expansion. So, Ms. Caratanuti, I see you are here.
I am, and thank you, Mr. Allen. And thank you for pronouncing my name correctly, because everybody slaughters it. I'm not exactly sure what presentation I should be making, but I will reiterate what I put in my application about why I want to do these improvements to my property. One is because I am a retiree and I am in my 70s. And I'm looking, first of all, to add a garage to the property to make it safer for me during the winter time to clean. I won't have to clean the car off to get from the car into the house. This past winter, for example, I actually fell a couple of times in the front yard going from the car to the front door. And fortunately didn't break anything, but did do some injury to my back and hip. So I'm looking for some added security in that respect. That is also another reason for adding a full-size porch in the front of the house, which not only gives me easier access, but also it gives me the view that I bought the house for of the lake. In addition to that, the house has only 2 closets. One is a utility closet and in one bedroom, and the other is my closet, the master bedroom. And I would like that small 5 by 5, I think, half-foot area off the back side of the house, if I could close that in to make that a closet and storage space for the second bedroom. The other addition or improvement I would like to make is I have a covered porch off the back of the house that I would like to extend and close in completely to add storage space for my kitchen. Right now, I store pots and pans in my oven, and I do a lot of baking, a lot of cooking, and I would like the added space for that, as well as the added storage space for like coats and boots and winter things that I'm shoving in my bedroom closet right now. I have no basement space because there's nothing but crawl space here. And I have limited attic space, which is difficult to access with a drop down staircase. So those are the primary things I'm looking to do and the reasons why. This is my permanent residence now. I moved back to the lake. I moved actually to this area about 4 years ago. I had purchased a cottage on Shore Drive 10 years ago, liked it and wanted to stay, and then bought this house about 4 years ago. And I grew up in Torrington, but lived in the Hartford area for many years. So this is like coming home for me. I have family and friends here, so I'm not going anywhere.
Have to remember to unmute. Thank you. Excuse me. Board, any questions for our applicant, please? You need to unmute, John.
Top right.
Okay, I have it. It says mute, and then, do you hear me, Phil?
Yes, I hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay, good. I guess my question is, you're planning to build a 2-car garage, Sally?
No, sir, John, I'm planning a very modest, I hope you would consider modest, 1-car garage. I currently drive a Forester, Subaru Forester, and
Yes.
the dimensions of that are about, 6 feet wide by almost 16 feet long. So I was trying to accommodate comfortably putting the car in the garage with doors open for people to get out. So I had requested a 14 by 20.
Right,
I do not have design or specs on that because I haven't taken that step yet.
okay. Because the only other issue was, I think, one of your neighbors mentioned that she was concerned that the view was going to be blocked.
I did see her emails and I did see her picture
Oh.
and
Priscilla, yes.
I believe she's here at the meeting. But I don't know if you want me to make any comment about that now or let her speak or what, but in terms of the view, I just wanted to clarify, I did upload some pictures, a picture regarding what's going to happen in the next month. Once the trees here bloom and everything is in full leaf, there really isn't going to be much of a view anyway. The picture that I demonstrated is in the summertime, I can barely see her property from my deck because of the tree cover. So
Yes.
I'm not disputing that there is some view, but it's a very, very limited view across a street and 2 properties.
Okay, thank you for your explanation.
Any
Mhm.
other board members wish to speak ask questions on this application?
So this addition or this garage is a single story, so a single garage with a roof. You're not putting anything above it. So we don't have, Pam, I didn't have the
No,
application,
absolutely
so
not.
I don't know if we had any kind of a plan or print that came with this.
Yeah,
package.
I didn't see it either.
I just pulled up the
There
survey on
is
the
none.
website so I could see the survey. I didn't have a survey or an application, so what I got was the emails and the pictures. Is there a plan for this?
It was in your March package.
No. I'm sorry. I stepped on you, Pam. In terms of a design for the garage,
This
no,
was from-
because
this
I
was
was
from the March
advised to process through the application for variance first before working on any kind of design. Because I was advised to not spend the money to do the design if it wasn't going to be approved. But again, I reiterate, it's a 1-car garage, is compact as I can make it and still be able to reasonably park and safely park the vehicle in it. So it's not intended to be oversized, not intended to have like attic storage or anything like that. It's simply a garage to protect the car.
Because that makes it a little bit difficult on the members here, Sally. If we don't have something to view, Mr. Moreno mentioned he didn't see the plans and neither did I. So I was just,
Because the issue we have is height becomes a factor in this approval, and if there's going to be a high roof, even if there's not living space above it, but if there's any kind of a pitch to the roof, that has potentially an impact.
I can, Paul, I can address that in that I did speak to a couple of contractors about dimensions and size. And what they told me, if I were to get approval for a 14 by 20 foot garage, the peak height would be 13 feet. And that is to allow for an 8-foot garage door plus about a 1-foot header and then the peak space. But again, I did not pursue any specific designs because I was advised not to. But that would be the minimum, that would be the dimensions, 14 by 20 by 13.
Sally, do you have the pictures that you sent in to us? There with you? These-
I do.
These
I
pictures?
do.
Can you just point to which one's
Which
your
ones are you
house for me?
referring to?
Because
Are you which pictures are you referring to? And
if you
I'm
could just
sorry
pick
who's
one of the
speaking. I
pictures
don't have everybody on
from the
screen.
road. Okay, so
Okay,
Philip, which house is it? The yellow one?
these pictures on the road are actually the frontage along Shore Drive.
Right, it's not
So
them.
any of these pictures were actually uploaded specifically to demonstrate water runoff, because that was one of the concerns that was emailed in early on. So that's why I submitted these pictures, to show you the street and the drainage and whatnot. So this is my house looking towards the lake.
This,
In picture, what would be probably number 3 on the screen, you can see where the parking area is, where the catch basins are. There's one at the foot of my parking area and one directly across the street.
So is that your house?
No, you're not seeing my house. You're seeing the water side. I'm on the opposite side.
is this
So
your
you're not
property?
seeing pictures of me. That is my deck. Whoever's holding, Mr. Allen's holding that up. That picture is from my deck looking back towards Ms. Podesta's property.
Okay.
I've circled it in the picture. This was to demonstrate what the tree cover is like in the summertime. The other pictures are demonstrating the street and the water runoff, which was someone else's concern.
So the other houses that we're looking at are actually on the water, and they are across Shore
On
Drive
water,
from
yes,
you?
they're across the street from.
So there's somebody yet
Correct.
behind you that's concerned about the view, I take it.
Yes, Ms. Podesta, who sent in the picture of the view from her back deck, she is behind me. And in that picture you just held up, Mr. Allen, that picture is showing her house from my deck through the trees. You can barely see it. But I'm saying again, that's because we're looking at June. We're looking at full bloom. The trees are fully leafed. So basically, there's very limited. In addition to that, I had to take a couple of trees down, one that was a danger of falling on my property. And the other was over in the parking area that was causing issues. So I had them removed, and I did not at the time replace the tree by the parking area, which was a crabapple tree, because I had hoped to be able to put a garage there, and I didn't want to damage a new growth. So with construction and whatnot, but once that is done, my intention is to replace that tree. So one way, I have to put that tree back to protect the lake for soil, runoff and soil protection. That
Sally,
is the picture. Is that the picture? Yeah.
So on this picture we're seeing from your neighbor behind, your house is on the left or the right?
Behind me, right, right.
No, this is looking
And
from
in that
behind you.
picture, if you look at it,
Your
I'm
house
sorry,
the
yes?
one on here, or is this your house here?
the one to, as I'm looking at you, move your hand, your right hand that way. That's me, right
This
there.
is your house here.
That's my house. That's the
Okay.
back of my house.
And your
Yes.
addition would be in this space between the two houses.
Yes, actually, it will be down. You can't in this picture, and I don't know if it was taken when I was home, but you don't even see my car. But if you could see my car, that's where the garage would be. It's down on the front, it's actually in front of my deck,
Okay, I think I got a view of
closer
it
to
now.
the
Thank you.
street. Okay, thank you.
I have a question, please. this, you're requesting a really quite a striking increase in coverage on your lot. Was there no way
Yeah.
to do what you needed to do without increasing your coverage so dramatically?
I'm not, well, there are a few things. I'm not sure exactly what all goes into play on the coverage. I know the garage does, obviously. The front porch, the closed front porch, I certainly can scale that back in size and to reduce the coverage. I had requested, as I said, I think it's 5.5 by 5.5 foot area off the back of the house to close in and make a closet. I could forego that if that is considered coverage. I don't, I'm not sure if that does or not, because that area presently is part of the back deck area. I do have a shed on the property that if it came down to that and I had to sacrifice the shed, I would do that in place of the garage. The garage is kind of important to me because of my age, really, more than anything else, and the security of it. And we've had break-ins, car break-ins in the neighborhood, and I had the neighbor across the street, his car was rifled through about a week or so ago, and change was stolen out of it and stuff like that. So it's the added security. So that's why the garage is kind of important to me. But again, as I said, I do have a shed on the property. If I have to sacrifice the shed for land coverage, I will do that.
Yeah, those kinds of trade-offs might make a difference between seeing a way forward for you.
Okay.
I got,
As I said, I'm perfectly
understand that
willing to do that.
there's not often that you're going to have the opportunity to make a lot of changes on your property, so I can understand wanting to try to do it all. But as I'm concerned some about the significant increase in coverage.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I do understand that.
I think there's two things that bother me. We'd be voting on a garage. We have no idea of, just a verbal as far as height and whatever. And I think the lot coverage is already beyond what it should be. And now we're shooting for the sky here. I just don't, I don't know. I just don't agree with this at all.
It would be easier for us to try to look at it if we had a garage plan and the changes to coverage were, you had a plan for that specifically. I mean, we're gonna go from, I think I read 21% to 28% coverage. Now.
You're going from, where are we here?
I think it says on the survey, the existing.
1782
Yeah, so
to
21.
2361. So you're already over.
Okay.
I mean, you can't-
It goes from 21%, Hal, to 28.
Oh, percentage wise, yes.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, but it's,
Right.
So Sally, just as a, after Phil, you're going to want to take public comment,
Yes.
but the applicant can request a continuance and can adjust her plans, and not have a finding tonight if, that's something that everyone's amenable to
Yeah, I was just about to raise that as a possibility.
for you. Okay, just I know that the neighbor is here, so. when you-
Okay. Right, and if you grant the continuance, I would be coming back with designs or plans for just the garage or for what I've requested variances on.
From my perspective, what I would want to see is what you could do to make to achieve your goal of safety. And with as little increase in cover, in impervious coverage as possible.
Okay.
And, it may mean sacrificing some of, one or two things that you like having, but just don't fit with the overarching need that you have to be able to do the garage. And then if we can see, even if it doesn't have to be a fully detailed drawing, but we need to see something about what the garage is actually gonna be. And,
Oh, okay,
I don't think you need construction drawings. It doesn't have to be that
right,
detailed. We don't have to see that, but we do need to see the footprint and the elevation of what you're proposing to be
okay,
at ease with, I think, to be able to be at ease with what you're asking.
And then you can make decisions about your coverage. In other words, if you take the shed away,
Right.
what does that change the coverage to? And make the trade-offs on what makes sense and try to keep the coverage as little as possible.
okay,
The coverage increase.
okay.
Would it be
Okay.
possible, to have the shed moved to some other location? Sally?
Is it John speaking?
Yes,
Was
John.
that you, John?
Yes.
I can only see 9 people at a time, so I have to keep switching back and forth.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, I would just have it removed, I think, although some people have suggested I sell it, but I probably would just have it removed if I need to do that. If that is the trade-off, then I will take care of it.
Okay.
Because there's no place I can move it to make use of it. I mean, this is the only property I have, so.
Yes.
Any further questions from the board, please?
No, I think a continuance would be a good idea too, because there's a lot of unknowns right now we're seeing too. So just a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Okay.
Tam?
Yes.
Well, should we move forward with taking the public comment that we've got on file already?
Yes. Yes, and allow any more that, that
Sure.
someone who might be here that wants to speak to it.
I understand.
Mhm.
Okay. Last call for board members. Anything further? Well, with that, then we will open the hearing to anyone who would like to speak to application number ZBA number 205239 for 135 Shore Drive. Please indicate by a show of hands or a comment in chat or speak up.
I have nothing, Phil.
I have one.
Priscilla is here.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to any of the porch or the mudroom and those kind of things. I just have a question about the garage, in addition to how high it'll be, but I was looking at the proposed plan and it's not clear how if this continuity has to go outside from the garage to the doorstep. So I didn't know if that was resolving the hardship enough for her to be able to walk safely from the garage to the doorstep of the house. So maybe you could clarify that.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, are you asking me?
And
well-
yeah, anybody who might know, maybe you.
Technically, the question comes to me and then
Okay.
to the applicant, but this is conceivably something that might be altered in the course of refining the design should Ms. Caratanuti decide to ask for continuance. But this was specifically to how the connection between garage and house would be.
Right, it looks like the porch is obstructing the ability to walk. So the hardship of not slipping on ice sounds like it's not getting cleared up by just having the garage structure, because there's no easy access from the garage to the house to walk safely indoors without slipping on anything. Does that make sense?
Did you catch all of that, Ms. Caratanuti? Did you get the question?
I did catch that, and do I need to respond to that right now, or can I do that when I come back? In essence, what my aim was to be able to go from the garage to the side entrance on the porch that I'm requesting to do, which is about 5 feet. So it isn't a large distance, certainly closer than other standalone garages in the neighborhood or in town. So I didn't feel that that was going to be a big issue, because if the weather's really bad, I won't be out in it. It's as much an issue as cleaning the car off and having to deal with the snow and the ice after the fact. So that was one of the reasons for the garage, just so I do not have to deal with the added cleaning and that kind of issues. But where the garage is proposed to go and where the entrance to the new porch would be is approximately 5 feet apart. It's hard to imagine from the survey, because it really doesn't represent what the land looks like. I suppose we could do some pictures or drawings. I have other drawings I've done that kind of depicts it a little bit better, but they're not, again, they're crude drawings. They're not anything that a contractor or engineer would be designing, but I do have design drawings that I've done that would show how close together it is, basically. Basically, it's not much wider than the steps on the deck to go from the garage to the new entrance that I'm requesting.
Okay,
Anything further, Ms. Podesta?
nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else sitting in the meeting who would like to be heard at this time? We do have some emails that have been submitted that need to be read into the record. From Jill Hyde at 160 Shore Drive in Winstead. To Pam Columbi, I hope this email finds you well. We had received notification stating Sally Caratanuti of 135 Shore Drive intended to build a garage and porch on her property. I just wanted to take a moment to respond. We have no issue with either structure and feel that it can only positively add to the neighborhood aesthetics. If you have any questions or need to contact me, etc. Also from a Glenn Pellegrinelli at 37 Shore Drive in Winstead, addressed to Pam Columbi. Please be advised that we have reviewed the construction plans for Sally Caratanuti at 135 Shore Drive, Winchester, Connecticut, and have no issues with the plan. Sincerely, Glenn and Donna Pellegrinelli. And that's it. I'm sorry. Those are the only other emails, since Ms. Podesta was here to speak her piece in person. Okay.
You have
Last call for anyone who
Pam.
wants to speak to this application.
Yep. Tilly. Go ahead, Sally.
So
Well, I
Sally,
was
you
going to
get
say
the word.
there was one more email, the one from Mr. Gainham, which was the impetus for the pictures of the street. And I don't know if you saw that one. There was the first one. He raised a question about water runoff.
That might not have made it into my packet for this.
That,
Oh, okay.
that was received on March 23rd. And it was, please submit the following comment and question to the ZBA board. Is there a plan to address the volume and the velocity of the water runoff?
Okay. And that particular email was the reason that I submitted the pictures showing the catch basins and the water and the way the runoff actually works around here. And his property is not directly in front of me. It's a little to the left as you face the lake. So it would be more on the south side, south end of shore or south of me. And any runoff that affects his property is actually coming from the other end of the street. It doesn't come from my property or even, from my property, either my property or the driveway next to me. As you can see from the pictures, it's any runoff comes from my property, goes into the road, into the catch basins, or it heads towards the point on Shore Drive. So, and that was the point of the pictures, all those street pictures. Because you can actually see where the water pools and where it runs, I think, kind of. They're not great pictures.
All right. Taking that for our last piece of public comment, you have the last word. If you have anything further to add, Ms. Caratanuti, and this would be the moment to request a continuance of the hearing to next month, if you would like to take advantage of the opportunity to refine your designs and plans and come back.
Absolutely, I would absolutely like to do that. So I am formally requesting a continuation. I thank you for your comments and your input and concerns, because it does kind of focus what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to do the best I can to improve my property and make life a little better for me without impacting the neighborhood. But so I appreciate, all the input that I got tonight, and I will gladly put some more finishing touches on everything to present next month.
Okay, in that case, I make a motion that we continue the public hearing on zoning Board of Appeals application 205239 to our next regular meeting on May 26th. May I have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very well. We will see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and your input. I appreciate it. And have a good night. I will step out and make room for others. Good night.
Good night.
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 Good night.
All right. Okay, I take it that we never managed to get John Mazzacott connected.
No, he's here.
Oh, he's here. Okay, good. Okay, there you are, John. Okay, so our next application is a zoning board of appeals special permit for 812 Hossley Road. And for the purposes of this application, we are going to unseat Mr. Marino and seat Board Member John Mazakat, and move forward with the hearing with that compliment. So, this is again a proposal to enlarge a garage to accommodate a particular truck. And I think we might just go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Marine. Are you presenting for yourself, Ms. Marine, today?
Yes, I am. I thought I'd be less nervous on the video, but I still, it's just as nerve wracking.
It's very weird. It's very, very weird.
Anyway, yes, so I came, this is my third time in. So the last time I came is because we had made a mistake in the plans and not made the garage large enough for my truck. And in the last plan, we did make the garage long enough for the truck, but somehow all managed to overlook the fact that we didn't accommodate enough width for the truck. So the way that it is right now, it only allows for 3 feet on either side of the truck, which will have the doors hitting the walls and make it a little difficult and possibly unsafe for people to climb in and out of the truck and when it gets into the garage. So this proposal, you can see the only changes that we're proposing are on the side yard on the east side of the house, which did have in the last plan a 52-foot setback, and now we're proposing a 45.5-foot setback, which increases the impervious coverage from 7.9% to 10.1%. Now, while we were doing this, we also, I was sort of like Mrs. Caratanuti. Part of the reason I've come in 3 times is because I've tried to reduce my expenses in terms of doing lots of drawings and paying people to do stuff for me. But because I had thought I had a plan that was approved that I should go forward with, I went further with the drawings on this go round. And that's when we uncovered this problem and also realized that we could use a little bit more space in the footprint of the house itself to accommodate for the mechanicals underneath the staircase. So you can see, if you guys have a color, I don't know if you have color copies of the survey, but you'll see that the width of the house, we're requesting an increase from 14.8 feet to 16 feet. So we're
Very
asking,
light blue ink.
yeah,
I believe, right, yes.
yeah.
Okay, so we do have that.
Okay, so we're asking for 1 foot 4 inches more there. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. I'm hoping you guys are okay with it because I'm still well below the 15% coverage, and I'm not asking for any encroachment on that setback on that side yard.
Do I remember right that that the existing house will ultimately be removed, or
Yes.
what's the plan for that structure is just to have it taken down and do
That's the
something
plan.
else with the land?
Yeah, that's the plan, is to take that structure down. It's in pretty serious disrepair, actually. The roof failed in part of the house.
Huh. I'm remembering now. I didn't get a chance to get up and look at it.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, I bought it that way, you know.
yeah, I remember.
I guess that's it. I don't know. Do you guys have questions for me?
Board?
I think it's a pretty simple addition. I really don't have any questions here.
Nor here.
I'm
No
all set.
questions. No questions.
Okay.
Very well. Seeing as we have none, we will open the floor, the virtual floor to anyone from the public who might like to speak to this application. No, hearing none. Any last words for us, Ms. Marino?
No, I just feel like a dope. But that's all.
All right. Well, in that case, we will close the public hearing on special permit application ZBA 20-5240. Is there any discussion among ourselves, board members?
I have none.
None.
None for me.
None.
All
None
right,
for myself.
thank you. In that case, I will read the motion. Motion for application 20-5240, applicant Marianne Marino for 812 Hossley Road. Motion to grant application 20-5240 for a modification to special exceptions number 19-5210 and 19-5219 to build a 46 by 26 foot two-story house with a 3 foot by 14.8 foot jog and a 3.5 foot by 14.8 foot front porch, and to relocate the structure on the property per the drawing submitted for the property located at 812 Hossley Road. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Marino, you have your project.
Thank you. I hope I don't have to come back.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yes.
Again.
See you later. Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
All right. Pardon me a moment while I get myself squared away to go on to the next ones.
Okay.
Front and grown.
Three.
All right. We have Mr. Yeski and Mr. Bernardino are in the house.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. So we will move now to Zoning Board of Appeals application 20-5241 for a variance for 115, 127, and 135 for Cumberland Farms. We're proposed new convenience store and gas fueling operation. So we will turn that over to you all, to whoever wishes to speak first to the application.
That would be me. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm Joe Williams. I'm a land use attorney with Shipman and Goodwin in Hartford. And I've been practicing in the areas of land use, environmental, and real estate law for a little over 25 years. It's my pleasure to see your heads on the screen and to be here with you. I wish I could be with you in person, but we'll look forward to when we get back to that point. And I am honored to be representing Cumberland Farms on these applications. With me this evening, as you noted, are Jim Bernardino, our professional engineer with Bowler Engineering, Peter Yeski, who is our client representative. He's with First Hartford Realty, which is the preferred developer for Cumberland Farms. And my associate Andrea Gomes is on with us as well. Just a couple of housekeeping matters, Mr. Chairman. The signs, of course, were properly posted. The personal notice to abutters was correctly mailed. And I just want to note that, as you all know, the March 24th meeting was rescheduled to tonight because of COVID-19. And I just want to note, I thought your staff did a great job posting all of the rescheduled agendas, notices, all the materials for tonight's meeting, keeping you in compliance with the governor's executive orders. So I want to commend you for that. Also note, just as a matter of housekeeping, I think it just came in, I don't know if you saw it, but we have letters in support of both of our applications from the Economic Development Commission. I just wanted to note that and then express our appreciation for those. So tonight, Cumberland Farms is seeking variances from two sections of the Winchester zoning regulations in connection with construction of a new convenience store and gas station at 115, 127, and 135 Main Street. The first regulation is section 2CB1. And that one's kind of unique because it provides for maximum setbacks and minimum building coverage within the town center or TC zoning district. Now, as you all know, and as you just talked about on the two applications preceding ours, with most zoning regulations, you cannot be too close to the property line and you can't have more than X amount of coverage on the property. But in the TC zone, it's the opposite. You can't be too far away from the property line and you need to take up at least 75% of the property with a building. The other regulation issued tonight is section 3E5A, which requires a landscaped buffer of 10 feet in depth along a public right-of-way for surface parking. Now, as we'll discuss in some more detail tonight, this site has first a unique location abutting the Mad River. It has an unusual shape and it has some challenging topography, all of which make complying with those regulations extremely difficult, if not impossible, and therefore necessitating our request for a variance from the maximum front side and rear yard setbacks, and from the building coverage minimum of 75%, and from the landscaped area requirement. The precise amount of the variances that we are seeking are all stated in the draft motion that you have that's available on the website, and also in the, it's called site plan with distances of proposed buildings marked. That's also listed under plans and drawings on the materials for this application. And the reason you have all of that and that level of detail, and it's been updated some from our original application, was just because of the staff asking us to measure the variances in the most conservative fashion with a right angle from the property line, as is the town's custom, not changing anything in the application or in the plans that were submitted to you. We have also filed an application for a certificate of location approval for the sale of gasoline under section 14-321 of the general statutes. Now, as many of you may know, Cumberland Farms has been selling gas at the location at 115 Main Street since the 1970s. But by state statute, because we are proposing to expand the gas operation onto some adjacent properties, the state of Connecticut requires us to ask you, the town, again, to approve the location to sell gas. Now, that's a separate application, and as I'm sure you know, requires a separate vote. But given the substantial overlap in the details of the site plan and the presentation, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to have myself and our engineer cover both of the applications in the same presentation.
I have no objections. Do any of the board have an issue with taking up both motions?
No.
No objection.
Very good, sir. Please continue.
Great. And if just looking ahead, so you know kind of where we are in the process, this is really the first step. If this board approves these two applications, then we will be seeking a wetlands permit and a special permit from the Planning and Zoning Commission, where of course the site plan will be given a detailed review. So let me turn to our current proposal. Just a quick summary of the site. You'll hear more about it from Jim, but the site is comprised of 3 parcels totaling about 0.8 of an acre. It's currently improved, of course, with a Cumberland Farms convenience store and gas facility. And then on the other 2 properties are a former fast food restaurant, I believe it's as a Wendy's most recently, and a former restaurant, I believe was called Flipping Grill. Both of those restaurant buildings are closed and have been abandoned, and I think it's fair to say have fallen into some disrepair and are in need of renovation. Cumberland Farms is under contract to purchase those two properties. And as I mentioned, they're located in the town center district where motor vehicle fuel sales with convenience retail uses are permitted, subject to special permit approval. And the property, of course, fronts onto Main Street, which, as I'm sure you well know, is a mixed-use business corridor having a variety of commercial, retail, institutional, and residential uses nearby, including the Morsel Monk across the street, an apartment building, the Ocean Garden Chinese restaurant, and Northwest Community Bank. Along Main Street, I think it's fair to say there are multiple examples of buildings that are set back deeper than 5 feet from their property line, which is what the regulation requires. And we also have property owned by Lawworks Inc. that abuts our site to the south and to the east, and the Mad River flows through that property behind our site to the south. Now, our proposal is to demolish the existing buildings and parking lots on the 3 parcels, build a new retail store building of 4,464 square feet, and a gas operation that will include 4 gas dispensers and a canopy, same number of gas dispensers as we have today. We believe the site, and hope you will find that the site has been attractively designed with a New England style of architecture to the store building, dark sky compliant lighting with decorative fixtures, and new landscaping, much more than the site currently has today. Now, Mr. Bernardino will explain in some more detail that the team was faced with a few obstacles in designing this site, in particular, the steep topography that slopes down toward the river and the odd shape of the site. Nevertheless, the team's designed a plan that we believe will upgrade the appearance of the 3 properties substantially at a key portion of the Main Street corridor. And we believe it will constitute a vast improvement over existing conditions and be a positive asset to the town of Winchester for years to come. So with that, hopefully brief introduction, unless there's any questions for me so far, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to turn it over to Jim Bernardino to go over the site plan details and some of the site constraints that we're focused on this evening.
Does anyone have any immediate questions for Mr. Williams? Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. For the record, Jim Bernardino with Bowler Engineering, the civil site engineer for the project. I'm going to share my screen with everybody so I can have some renderings and plans that I could overview and explain as to what the proposal actually is. So sharing the screen. Let me know if that does not pop up in a couple seconds.
There you go.
Okay, so the first slide that we have is just an existing aerial slide. For reference, north is down, so everything's backwards from what you conventionally know. So the subject property, 115 Main Street, which is the existing Cumberland Farms, along with 127, and the abutting property, which is 135, the 2 vacant restaurant uses. Subject property is located in this general area. It's a little narrow coming down. So we're looking at those 3 properties, which comprises of the overall development area. I believe everybody is familiar with it. Mr. Williams did a general description of the overall neighborhood of that. One aspect that I want to point out while we're on this aerial is we are seeking variances for maximum setbacks. So when you look at the general neighborhood, even some of the existing conditions, you can see the existing restaurant uses that obviously are set back from the street. The adjacent property with the old abandoned cafe obviously is set on the front street, but obviously has a large rear yard setback. So by no means is setbacks a consistent aspect through the neighborhood in this location. Moving forward, oops, sorry, a little touchy. We did prepare a comprehensive survey which details the 3 parcels of property. I just included this in the slide presentation in case there's any finite details that any board members would like to see. I'm able to zoom in and present that to them should you have any questions regarding finite details. This is a perspective, an actual photograph of Cumberland Farms. Cumberland Farms is not only looking to modernize their operations with their their new excuse me, with their new interior layouts, with all their proposals for soda fountains, iced coffees, and the like. But they're also looking to take this opportunity to enhance site access and operations of the existing property. Currently, we have 4 MPDs, which we call it's a multi-product dispenser, which is basically a fueling position. The site currently only has 6 parking spaces. You can see in the photo that people are actually parking out on the street in drive aisles that aren't really made for safe, or is not reflective of safe pedestrian circulation through the site. And also you can see a little bit of confusion and congestion at the entrance at the driveway. So not only is the upgrade of the facility a major consideration of the project, but also site circulation and how the property actually functions as it relates to an overall customer experience. Sliding down, this is just another picture of the adjacent building, which is it's the vacant Wendy's site. And now the next slide is the proposed development. Obviously, what's shown here outlined is the 3 parcels combined, which is just over 8/10 of an acre, about 8.85 acres in total. The proposal is just over a 4,600 square foot convenience store, which is slightly larger than the 2,000 square foot, 2,400 square foot existing convenience store that's on the Cumberland Farm site. But in aggregate, when you add up all of the existing buildings on the 3 parcels, the building coverage of the building as well as the accessory structure canopy is actually a reduction in overall rooftop that exists on the site today. The proposal is obviously to access Main Street. We're going to better define the curb cuts along Main Street. Presently, there's 4, 5, 6 curb cuts along Main Street, depending on how you want to count them. So we're going to take this opportunity to define 2 primary access points, full movement, and take an opportunity to update the sidewalks along the front for adequate pedestrian access. If you recall the site, there's really no delineated pedestrian walkways along the front. It's more of just the asphalt along the front of the gas station. So we'll take this opportunity to grass some areas, have some vegetation, as well as have a concrete sidewalk. The proposal is to incorporate 24 parking spaces, which is a vast improvement over the existing conditions of the existing convenience store, which only has 6 spaces on that subject site. Obviously, we have a slightly larger building, and we are providing a larger area for maneuverability in and throughout the site. We're maintaining the same number of dispensing positions for the fuel. However, we're widening them apart, so there's actually a bypass lane through the middle and providing appropriate maneuvering through the site and around the site so that there's no congestion, and it greatly alleviates any of the existing concerns and site accessibility matters that exist today at the Cumberland Farms. The proposal is to install a new state-of-the-art underground fuel storage tank, where 2 24,000 gallon tanks are going to be proposed. They're going to be, as I mentioned, state-of-the-art, compliant with all of the state and federal regulations as far as leak detection, monitoring, and the like. Obviously, the ones on the site now are getting a little bit aged, so that is going to be a vast improvement in consideration of future environmental concerns on the site. Continue on, we have looked at a number of items to incorporate to accommodate the proposed development. As Mr. Williams mentioned previously, we do have somewhat of a unique shape where the western end, the eastern end of the site is a little bit narrower where the tanks are and widens up greatly to the east, to the west of the site. And looking at putting together a proposal that would be accessible from a customer standpoint, not only to the building convenience store, but also to the fueling station, as well as providing appropriate vehicular access for fuel storage. Our site will accommodate a WB50 truck to coming in and around the site to dispense the fuel into the underground system. We took a look and we had some challenges as it relates to the width of the property to provide those types of maneuvering aspects for delivery vehicles, and not only delivery vehicles, but emergency first responding vehicles as well. Also mentioned previously by Mr. Williams, there is Mad River in the back of the site. There's a relative steep slope that runs from the river all the way up to the site. And presently, there's drop-offs that had some retaining walls that lie just off our property. So unfortunately, we needed to pull our development back away from the property to allow for appropriate installations of retaining walls along the southern edge, as well as along the western edge of the property, just to allow for a reasonable grade and accessibility throughout the site. We are obviously in front of the board tonight to talk about some maximum setbacks. And we're looking at maximum setbacks for the regulations of 5 feet. I'll zoom in a little bit. 5-foot maximum setbacks in the front, 10-foot max in the rear, and then 3 on the sides. Obviously, we highlighted those offset lines and show basically what a building footprint would need to be compliant with all the setbacks. This might be a little extreme, but you get the picture that meeting the front yard maximum setback is very difficult, and also meet the rear yard setback, vice versa of the 2 side yards as well. So this is just a real quick display showing the difficulties that it would be to be 100% compliant with all the setbacks. And if you were to be compliant, it's very difficult to have adequate off-street parking, mechanicals, or any other type of amenities or infrastructures that would be associated with any type of development in this district. With that, I'll take a look at a couple perspectives that the project is going to actually look like at the end of the day. So this is from the east looking west to the Cumberland Farms store. Obviously, the sign looks a little large. Our scaling was a little bit off on that. So obviously, we're going to be putting together a comprehensive sign package for permitting with the town. At this point, there's no relief that we're looking to seek for signage, but that we're still going to be discussing that applications with the Planning and Zoning Commission as the development moves forward. This is just another perspective at the main entrance coming in. And so what I would want to do one other time, I'll touch base on the setbacks, and we can turn it back over to everybody. My mouse is going crazy. There we go. So right now, we are looking for really for three aspects. One is a 10-foot wide landscape strip along the front of the property where it abuts parking spaces, I believe, greater than 20 spaces. To maintain site circulation and adequate maneuverability through the site, the area between the two driveways is less than 10 feet. We're approximately about 2 feet of landscaped area there now being proposed where that 10 feet is required. Presently, there's zero. It's just a sea of asphalt going through that location. Likewise, we're looking for relief from the maximum building, well, actually, it's a minimum building coverage. I'm sorry. 75% is required. And we are currently proposing 11.9%, which is an overall reduction of over 5% of the existing conditions. So we're actually have less rooftop on the site with the three lots being considered. And also we're actually increasing green space on the overall site as well, which I think is also beneficial from a stormwater water quality point of view as well. And then likewise, lastly, we have a number of setbacks. We talked about the front, side, and rear setbacks. I could go through each of those numbers specifically if you have any questions, but as Joe did mention, all those specific numbers are outlined in the draft motion. So if you do have any questions on that, we're glad to review and go into site-specific locations on that. So with that, I would turn it back over to Joe if he has anything to add. And if not, I would defer it over to the board for any questions or comments you may have.
Should we pause here for any questions for Jim, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly. Does anyone have anything immediate to come to mind? Okay, back to you, Mr. Williams.
Okay, well, just a few closing points then. We believe the standards for granting a variance as set forth in your regulations and state statute have been met by this application. And a lot of this is laid out in more detail in my submittal letter to you. So out of respect for your time, I'm not going to repeat it. But we believe approval of these variances would be in harmony with the purpose of the zoning regulations. It advances several policies of the Winchester Plan of Conservation and Development. And the hardship test is met because due to the location, the configuration, and the topography of the site, as you just heard, and as you see in our materials, it would be extremely difficult, if not altogether impossible, to fully comply with the setbacks and the maximum setbacks and the minimum building coverage because of the need to pull the development away from the property lines and still make room to allow for safe site circulation and access. So those are really the reasons for the need for the variances, and they are inherent in the property. And so we believe the hardship test has been satisfied. And so we respectfully submit that it's appropriate to grant the variance, and we're asking for your approval. And I'll pause there and see if there's anything else in the variance, Mr. Chairman. Then I just have a few words about the location approval, if anybody wants to ask us anything else.
Any last questions from the board on this particular point? Do we have anyone sitting in who wishes to speak from the public, just so I know whether we have anyone who wants to be heard?
No, I think that Attorney Williams wanted to just cover the licensing application and
Sure.
then
But it doesn't seem like we have any public who are here to comment tonight. So just to try to streamline it a little bit. So yes, let's move ahead to the licensing.
Okay, so under the state statute, which is 14-321, we're asking for the town's sign off on the approval of this location to sell gasoline. And basically, the question that comes to the town on that kind of request is whether it's a safe location to sell gas. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that a gas station has been operating at a portion of this site for about 45 years is pretty good evidence that it's operating safely. But as we've explained tonight, the design of the site is intended very intentionally and carefully to improve the safety of the existing situation, the layout, the parcels with pedestrian access, with vehicle circulation, with access for emergency vehicles. As Jim mentioned, the reducing of the curb cuts and the better control of access and egress from the site. So we believe that our site design will improve safety over existing conditions. And I would add that the gas operation will comply with all modern codes and standard regulations to ensure that it runs safely, which Cumberland Farms has a very strong track record of proving that it knows how to do. So we're respectfully requesting your approval of that application as well. And that's it for our presentation overall, Mr. Chairman, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. So we do have the submission for public comment from our Winchester Economic Development Commission, which I will read into the record, addressed to myself as chair of the Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals. The Winchester Economic Development Commission is fully in support with the above mentioned application of 20-5241 for Cumberland Farms to upgrade their existing facility at 115 Main Street by means of purchasing adjacent properties 127 and 136 Main Street for the purpose of building a new convenience store and gas fueling operation. We feel that Main Street, Winstead, will benefit by the completion of this project as it will combine vacant rundown properties and substantially upgrade the third existing property with new architecturally appealing construction. Furthermore, the modernization of utilities, landscaping, runoff, pavement, and equipment will be a vast improvement upon what currently exists there. Sincerely, Deweese Yeager for the Winchester Economic Development Commission. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on these applications? So formally, then we will close. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, you have the final word if you have anything left to add at this point.
We appreciate your time and attention, and we respectfully request approval.
Thank you. With that, we will close the public hearings on application 20-5241 and application 20-5242. Is there any discussion among the board?
Phil, I just want to make sure that for the record, who is seated for this application? Because John's been participating on Massacot, so
for who's seated for this?
Please.
It's myself, Cal, Aubrey, John,
John Pollock.
And John Pollock, yes. I haven't, there he is, okay. It's easy to lose track of who's here. Okay, so board, do we have any discussion on these applications? I guess not. In that case, I will read the first motion. I have actually, I think there might have been one that was updated. So I have two versions. One of them is for the primary building, a front yard setback variance of 25.6 feet. The other one reads a front yard setback variance of 21.9.
It would be the 25.6.
The 25.6. Okay, I thought so, but just wanted to make sure. And there are no changes to the 5242 motion, correct?
Yes, there is.
I
It
don't-
is included in today's package.
Okay, I'll find that when we get there because it'll take me a half an hour to read this. So therefore, making the motion on application 20-5241 for 115 Main Street, 227 Main Street, and 135 Main Street on behalf of Cumberland Farms. A motion to approve variance application 20-5241 from section 2.c.b.1 for the primary building, a front yard setback variance of 25.6 feet, an east yard setback variance of 214.3 feet, a west yard setback variance of 12.9 feet, and a rear yard setback variance of 54.6 feet. For the accessory structure, a front yard setback variance of 14.8 feet, an east yard side setback variance of 115.7 feet, a west side yard setback variance of 124.2 feet, a rear yard setback variance of 56.6 feet. For the site, a variance for maximum building coverage of 63.1%, and from sections 3.e.5.a to be able to not install the required 10-foot landscape buffer between the public highway and the parking lot for the purpose of merging 3 parcels of land, demolishing the existing structures, and building a gas station convenience store on the property as per the drawing submitted for the properties located at 115 Main Street, 127 Main Street, and 135 Main Street. Made by myself, Philip Allen. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please.
Aye.
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 All opposed? All abstain? We're good to go. All right. And okay, so for this, the motion 205242, Pam, you said there was a alteration in this text.
Yeah, it was just the correct general statutes. It's behind there's a green sheet. If you look at.
Okay, I think that's. Okay, all righty. Sorry about that. Thank you for your patience. Okay, a motion to approve application number 20-5242 for a general statutes section 14-321 certificate of location approval for the sale of gasoline, and to have the chairman sign the site plan after the properties are merged for the property located at 115 Main Street, 127 Main Street, and 135 Main Street. Made by myself, Philip Allen. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion? Very good. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed and abstain? Were you raising your hand opposed, Mr. Wilks?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
How could you oppose that? It's gonna be such a beautiful thing on Main Street. I mean,
I guess maybe you were just adjusting something.
no, it's just getting my hand in there.
Okay.
Thanks, Cal.
All right. So, gentlemen, you have your approvals on our end and are free to move ahead with all the rest of the approvals you need to go to. Thank you for all the time you've taken to be here with us and to share with us your proposal, answer all of our questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate your help.
Okay. Really harder to keep in order at home. All right. So it is the 376 East Wakefield that we're opening and adjourning.
The applicant had requested a continuance and
Okay. All right. Moving forward, we will take up Zoning Board of Appeals application 20-5243, a special exception for 376 East Wakefield Boulevard. The applicant Matthew Clausen for owner Ken Albino. The proposal to construct a covered deck in accordance with submitted drawings. We understand that the applicant would like to continue their hearing until our next meeting on May 26th.
Yes.
So I make a motion that we grant the continuance for this application. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor of extending?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you all. And lastly, all right. And lastly, we have Zoning Board of Appeals application 20-5244 for 787 Main Street. Owner Ahmed Ali One LLC. Is the applicant present?
I'm the applicant's representative. I'm present tonight.
Enter and sign in, please, sir.
Hi, for the record, this is Robert Colabella, Laurel Engineering. I'm here today representing the applicant on this variance. Oops, sorry. On this variance. The applicant is seeking a variance for maximum, it's different in this zone. This is a town center zone, and they're seeking a variance for Roman numeral 2, section C, B1. That is on page 7 of our regulations. They're in the town center zone, which obviously was created for basically pretty much from Monroe Street down, but it now includes, Beardsley Library and Dunkin' Donuts, and across the street is a Quick Stop is where we're talking about. And to that end, in order to meet maximum building coverage of 75% on this site, it would be impossible. I'm just speaking to the variance right now. I'll explain the project in a second. Because 47% of the lot is already taken up by the Mad River itself. This is really a topographic hardship where when we obviously can't build over the Mad River, and obviously a gas station really can't cover 75% of the lot. So what the applicant is planning to do at this site, on the first map, which is the existing conditions / demolition plan. Do you want me to bring that up, Pam, or do you want to bring it up?
Do you have it pulled up already?
I do. Let me try to, all right, share screen, right? Here it is. Okay, so this is the first plan. This is the existing condition / demolition plan. Now, if you're familiar with the site, there is a, right here, are the pumps. Right here is the existing convenience store. And right here is basically where it used to be a garage, a service garage. And right now it's empty, vacant, and doing nothing. So the new owners, and this is under new ownership now, the new owners had planned to raise the existing convenience store, move the convenience store by renovating the entire garage that was out there into the new convenience store, which would give them little bit more square footage. And various site work, and that is on, I can bring up the planting plan and I could show you that too. So let me share that plan. How do I unshare this thing? Oh, stop sharing. Okay. All right, now I'll bring up the other one. Okay, so this is sheet three in your pen. You can't see?
No, can you just blow it, increase the size of it just a tad?
Yep, the size.
Yeah, perfect.
All
And
right, okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's great.
All right, so this is the most comprehensive of the entire site, because this is the parking, planting, and landscaping plan, includes all the site improvements as well. So this is the building that they're planning on raising. It has a sidewalk that goes around it here, and they want to move it into here, and they're going to provide a handicap parking stall here, and the 6 required stalls, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 over here. And we have a landscaping buffer area around this area with the location of the dumpsters. And right now, the condenser and the air conditioning unit are sitting perilously above the embankment to the river, which is really quite steep on this side. And the pad is going to be moved over to the side of the building and also buffered. So there aren't going to be any changes to the ingresses and egresses. They're going to remain exactly where they are. They're obviously going to have to put a new walk around the front of the building to get the handicap access and get them into the building. So, but the variance that we're here for today, and I was speaking to the whole project because down the line, we also need a special permit for this project because it's a gas station. And we don't want to do that until we are obviously done with wetlands, because there may be revisions there and we don't want to come back for revisions here. And so we want to make sure that we get wetlands taken care of first, and any changes we have to make to the plan, we can make, and then we can come back again for a special permit. But today we're talking about the variance of maximum building coverage. So really, if we took, this is a gas station, and if we can't cover 75% of it, because like I said, 47% of this lot right here is the river itself. So even if we wanted to build on this entire area that was left, we still wouldn't meet it. It's existing non-conforming, was a gas station, convenience store, plans on remaining a gas station, convenience store, only with, new signage, new building, a refurbished building, and new site work. So if there's any questions, I'll take them now.
How much bigger would the new gas station be compared to the old gas station?
No bigger. We're not changing the size.
I mean, you have 4 pumps there now?
Yep. That's just going to
You'll
remain
have 4
exact.
pumps?
The island's going to remain exactly the way it is, except for low impact development requirements. We're going to put the new leak escape barrier around the island, make sure that's not an issue down the road. But no, the island's going to remain as you see it where the canopy is here. These are the existing pumps right under there now. They're going to remain there. This is the convenience store, which the canopy is very close to the convenience store on this corner.
Right.
Basically like a tunnel going through there. So, that'll open things up a little bit there. And we're going to put some.
Okay, so you're not going to replace the tanks, obviously.
No. No.
And then how old is this gas station? Do you have an idea how old how long it's been around?
Oh, geez. I know it's changed hands more than one time with Dietland, and then there was another owner in between Dietland and Doug, and he owned it for a long time. So I'm 40s, 50s, maybe even earlier for one part of it.
Yes. Okay.
It's been here for quite a while. I used to live in this house right over here with where it says existing barn. I lived right here for quite a few years. So I'm very familiar with the gas station. I still walk over there and get milk and eggs and whatever I needed. But like here's the existing island, the curb on this proposed curb right here for when we have to, after we rip all this out and have to repave things, the proposed curb over here is still right in the exact same spot it was earlier. So is this one. Over here, we got a little change, tried to give them a little grass back, you know, so it put a little buffer through there, kind of loop this around. It used to come over into here, right into the corner. But we had to meet, you know, a 6 parking stall requirement. So even with the building trying to make a 75% coverage is, you know, pretty much impossible to do with.
Right.
Well, it's definitely impossible with the 47% of the lot being the river. That's I don't. And there's also a state drainage easement that we wouldn't be allowed to build on. Permanent structure that is allowed to build right in this area. That's another area that would take away even more. So if you take the 47% of the river, the straight drainage easement, and the town drainage structures that preclude building on an additional 7% of the property, the remaining portion of the lot is dedicated to parking, access into the fuel tanks. So that's actually, there's already 54.4% of the lot we can't even build on now.
Are there any further questions from our board?
Well, I think basically what we're doing here is we're tearing down the existing convenience store and rebuilding it on the site where that garage is now, which would give them more space, and it's really quite an improvement to the property. That's right there. That's coming down, right?
This rectangle, right? Oh, actually, right to here, right to the wall, because they're connected. So right to here, all of this, including the sidewalk,
right?
All of this, and the air conditioner are coming out.
Yeah.
And the AC pad's going to be moved over to here, and add the new handicap access through here. Added some landscaping buffers around this area. So this would be, and this structure is already existing, so we're not changing its footprint whatsoever. We're just gonna fix the cinder block walls. They have an architect for this, and he's put together a set of plans. I haven't seen them yet, but my colleague has, and he has them in his file at his house. But it's going to be all new. The whole exterior face is going to be all new, so you won't even recognize the building when they're done with it.
Any more questions from the board? Is anyone here who wishes to speak from the public on this application? I do have an email communication from the Economic Development Commission, which I will read into the record, addressed to myself. The Winchester Economic Development Commission is in support of the current plan submitted by Ahmed Ali 1 LLC to raise the existing retail building with the premise of converting the remaining garage to be the future retail space for this quick stop convenience store and gas station. This project, when completed, will enhance the town of Winsted aesthetics at an important Western Gate crossroads. Sincerely, Deweese Yeager for the Winchester EDC. Are there any other comments from the general public? None. You get the last word, Mr. Colabella.
Yeah, before we close the public hearing and I can't speak anymore, I took a look at the possible motion. I noticed a couple things in there that it says from section Roman numeral 2 CB.II, it's just one I because there is no two. And I'm thinking the actual variance we're asking for, that number, that 13.2% is the existing building coverage as this building sits right now. The proposed building coverage after we remove the old convenience store will be 9.2% of the property. But the variance it appears we're looking for would be the 75% minus the 9.2%, which means I think we're looking for a 65.8% variance of the maximum building coverage.
That makes sense to staff.
Yes, right?
And it is correct that it should be section 2.c.b.i, not II. Is that correct?
Right. I think our zoning enforcement officer has been quiet all evening. Maybe he can unmute himself and confirm.
All right, I won't be quiet. Yeah,
There he is.
that was just a typo.
Okay.
It is, right?
Because on the application itself, I did write 65.8%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And so if there are no more questions, I've presented what the applicant is looking to do.
Okay. Well, with that, I will close the public hearing for ZBA application 20-5244. Is there any discussion from the board? No, hearing none, I will go ahead and read in the motion. The motion to approve variance application 20-5244 for a variance from section 2.c.b.i for a maximum lot coverage variance of 65.8% for the purpose of demolishing a section of an existing building as per the drawing submitted for the property located at 787 Main Street. Made by myself, Philip Allen. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Wait a second. That Phil just read maximum coverage building coverage variance, and maybe I'm just panicking, but I want to make sure that it shouldn't read minimum building coverage.
I thought I read it maximum. Did I say minimum?
Yeah, it should be minimum.
It should be minimum, right?
For a
Well, that's what's in the table. Minimum building coverage.
Rob, you can't say anything because the hearing's closed.
Oh.
But
Okay, so
the one,
correct.
It does say minimum, right?
no,
No, I mean the,
yes,
yeah, so it should say minimum.
All right.
sorry about that. So, you know, we try to,
I will restate the motion. Motion to approve variance application 20-5244 for a variance from section 2.c.b.i for a minimum lot coverage variance of 65.8% for the purpose of demolishing a section of an existing building as per the drawings submitted for the property located at 787 Main Street. So moved. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkes got in on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Your client has his approval.
Okay, I suspect we'll see you in we have the wetlands meeting, and then after that, we'll be back to see you.
Okay,
Special permit. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Everyone have a nice day and stay healthy.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on. We have nothing under old business under, for approval of minutes. Everyone received a copy of the February 25th, 2020 regular meeting. Are there any corrections of facts? And there being none, we can have a motion to approve the minutes as presented,
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes? All opposed, abstained? I think Hal, you were gone that month, so you and I abstained because I missed that meeting. So,
Okay.
minutes approved. Any correspondence we need to worry about?
No.
Any other business? Any discussion with our elusive zoning enforcement officer?
You just gotta look.
I caught that. Yeah, we are in a Brady Bunch layout now. That feels
You
so
can
great.
say whatever you want, because I just turned down the volume. I can't hear anyways.
Well, in that case, I think we have completed our agenda. We can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? I'll second. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Thank you all. We made it.
Very
Good
good.
job.
Worked out well.
It did.
I